Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to... So, you know why you're here. We've finished the Crawler Canyon build-along series in which we put together, in which we assembled the SCX10 Pro, this gentleman right here. And we now do that thing. We do the necessary thing, the ghost ride, in which we drive it before we paint the body. Because we want to see what do. If you have not finished the build-along series, or if you didn't watch it, and you're just here to see what we think about the 10 Pro, then welcome aboard. I had said in that we were going to run him out on these fake tusks fitted with Injora silicones. They would have been absolutely fine. And then I thought, we ran a VRD, effectively box stock, basically nothing done to it, much like how this is, on Injora comp pins, the S4 pins, not the XHX pins, but the S4 comp pins. As a matter of fact, these exact set of S4 comp pins, I think. No. A set of S4 comp pins that looked exactly like these. So I thought, let's mount those up and run them just exactly the same way. Slight disadvantage to our buddy here, the 10 Pro. This is a standard Class 2 tire, 4.75 inches tall, but a little better, a little bit. There we go. The 10 Pro is straight axles, so that there's going to be less clearance. That's how physics works. If you were not present for the entire build process, it went, in a word, axial. Their instructions leave a lot to be desired. They try to cram too much into too few steps. They act as if paper and ink cost more than the raw materials from which the vehicle are made. But quality-wise, like fitment-wise, axles went together right. Shocks went together well. Running them upside down so they shouldn't leak. The spring rates seem fairly close. The included oil is maybe slightly underdamped, slightly, but if slightly underdamped, I mean very slightly. And it was clearly, this body, this is the 10 Pro body, it was clearly made for this body. I mean, it even, the body has two little notches to clear the screw holes in the sliders. The body mounts are minimalized. It's fine. I have taste is purely subjective. You cannot be objective when it comes to matters of taste. I despise that body. It's gross. It's just gross. The chop top makes the dimensions weird. They made absolutely no efforts at, like, there's no detailing, there's no nothing. I'm surprised that we even have whatever this little shape is here. That's it. If it wasn't for that and these little embossed door handles, it would be basically just smooth. Same for the front. No sort of grill, no sort of front end. It's a pancake. I had mentioned during the build series that the stance body that comes on the stance and you can slap it on a VRD from Vanquish should you so desire is not one of my favorite tucked bodies, but this is way worse. I don't know. It's just me. This thing strikes in me something, even down to like the way the bumper goes against the back of it. The body could have been made a ½ inch longer, so it just came down flush to the top of the bumper. I don't know. A lot of things feel like they could have been done, but that's cosmetic stuff. Underneath, we have the usual questionable decisions made by Axial. The shaft is superfluous. The transmission is overly complicated and unnecessary. But the front mount, they tried to do too many things at once, so he named himself. His name is Rainbird because, let me see if I can get just right. There you go. Also, you might notice some wheel speed. That is a 1200 kV Hobbywing Fusion SE. 1200 kV, everyone. Because inside this massive expanse of a gearbox It is effectively a 3-gear gearbox 3 times. So you have a pinion driving a spur. A 13 is driving a 60. It goes through this unnecessary shaft. We have a full universal with a dog bone end in order to, because this sits 3 millimeters higher. If the motor plate was lowered 3 millimeters, and it couldn't be, the drive shaft would hit it. So that's why it's up there. Then that would just be straight. Or it could be separate. Anyway, 13 drives a 60, comes back across this shaft. There's an 18 tooth. That 18 tooth is directly meshing with a 26 tooth, which is a 1.44 to 1 ratio. The 26 tooth is meshing with a 40 tooth, which is a 1.54 ratio. And then everything behind that is just the same stuff. Inside that, so the 26 goes in, and there's a 26 driving a 40 for where we are right here, which is 0 overdrive, everything, 0 underdrive, overdrive, everything spins at the same speed. When you shift it, it moves to a second set of gears, and now you have 40%. But that just means that the rear is spinning slower. The front never slows down. So you have the 13 to the 60 to the 18 to the 26 to the 40. That is roughly 38 to 1 final. In my estimation, that is an insufficient amount of gear reduction, because there's no reason on that would be a sufficient amount of gear reduction were we portaled. I would like to say that the output on a typical VFD, Stealth, anything like that, Stealth's a little higher, on most gearboxes is going to be in that same area. That's sort of around 9-10 to 1 final, where the drive shafts come out. The motor is making about 10 revolutions to 1 revolution of the drive shaft. And then you've got 3.75 in the axle, or 3.5 in the case of a Traxxas. So all the ratios are going to come out pretty close, but we don't have portal reduction. If we had portal reduction on this, we would be looking at about 60 to 1. Would be fantastico, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is a 1200. That's too fast. The pinion could go like maybe 2 teeth smaller, which would help. But we are where we are. So 38 to 1 final. Call it like 38 to 44. Let's say that. If you're running a pinion in the 12, 13, 14 tooth range, it's in my estimation, an insufficient amount of gear reduction. It's a Fusion, so it's got FOC, so we can still do the slow thing. Problem is, we're relying on our finger stroke, this, to modulate all of. It's a little much, but this is the thing. The entire process of putting this together, the process up till now, to when we're going to go out inside and drive it, has been a tennis match of. It is inarguable that this servo situation that they've done for the front axle, it might be the best servo on axle out there. It's so low profile, it's so flat, it's going to bring the CG down. It suffers from the same thing as the VRD, which is flibbity-flob front end, and that is because there's no triangulation in the upper links. That's what no triangulation in the upper links does. It makes the front end flop around because the triangle would stop that. The rear end basically doesn't move. So we can't fault them for that. They all do it. The gearbox is unnecessarily overwrought, and it suffers from what I consider, again, this is my opinion based on the evidence that I've gathered driving other vehicles. You have 2 positions in your changeable overdrive. You have 0 and you have 40. So either they're spinning the same amount, or you switch it over and these are spinning 40% more slowly than these. And honestly, it doesn't look like 40% to me. It looks like about 33%. But 0 and 33, I don't know who thought that was a good idea. I think you can get up into the low teens, 10, 12, 15, with no real noticeable drawbacks. And 40 is a lot. the VRD runs, if it is indeed 40, I think it's closer to, I think it's in the 33 range. I should have done the math, but I didn't. I did markers on the tires, and it seems to be 3 revolutions to 2, which, if my math is right, and it's often not, is around 33%. But anyway, would I have preferred to see 12%, and then you could switch it into, say, 35%, 40%? Yeah. Or 12% that switches to 30%. Going zero nowadays is becoming increasingly uncommon. So we're going to see. This will definitely be a first-time experience because I've never tested a vehicle that goes from 0 to really big. The Phoenix from Vanquish goes from 6.5 to about 46. So again, there's about a 40% change, but it still has that little bit. 6.5 is enough to help tighten your turning circle just a little bit. These axles appear to have plenty of throw to them. These tires luckily are nice and narrow, so it doesn't shove them into the shocks. The front end came out what appears to me to be perfectly symmetrical. As I said, the axles went together really nicely. No shimming required, no problems, no issues. They just built. I think the 10 Pro axles are nice, and they help us put behind us mentally the AR45 Portal. I've kind of come around to the AR45 straight axle, but I didn't consider it an improvement over the AR44. I prefer this to the AR45, to the Pro. Also because they are fully modular. Like, this is a piece, and these are separate pieces, and these are separate pieces. You can change out each little individual piece. I like that. I don't like the giant plastic. That should be aluminum. This is a Pro. But it's little stuff. The wiring cleaned up very easily because I used an old, I think it's a Rustler. It's either a Rustler or I think it's a Slash. That is a Trex's Slash receiver box. Everything tucked in there nicely. We have very little in the way of exposed wires. Threw it on the scale just mere moments ago. Did not go to a full corner balance, but we weighed it on the scales. 2,622 grams in Freedom units, 6 pounds. Is that right? Right around 6 pounds. And the numbers look, not gonna lie, respect where respect is due, real good. 721.9 front right, 723.4 on the front left, a 583.1 on the rear right, 592.7 on the rear left. So cross is 50-50. 8 grams difference in the cross. 8 out of 2622, not a lot. 1% would be 26 grams. 8, 16, 20. We're basically a third of that. So 0.3% differential in the cross. That is negligible to the point of nothing. The part that is surprising, and I guess because it is a forward motor mount, but it is slightly high. So we get the motor forward, but we could have gotten it more forward. They left provisions for chassis mounted steering and a winch, so we can't really get the motor further forward than it is now. 55-45 on the weight distribution, which is fine. I think the sprung to unsprung could be quite good because this sits very nice and neutral to me. Let's see if I can get it on with one hand. See the little cuts? See if I can get it on with one hand. Now. So this sits nice and neutral on 1 pound springs because the bulk of the weight on the chassis is just the gearbox. The big overcomplicated gearbox is the deal. Were this a project that I were doing, I would almost certainly and without hesitation remove the entire gearbox and replace it with a Creeper T. I've got one right here, now that I think about it. I would replace the entire gearbox with this. This has 30% underdrive. I would put that right there. Run the exact same motor plate, run a shaft down to drive this, have the 2 outputs come out like that, and it would keep us at 30% instead of 0 or 40, and would remove, I'm not even kidding, it would have to remove close to 1 pound. That is generally the net effect that you'll get when you remove a axial gearbox. When you use this with a forward motor mount in a 10.3, it takes off a full pound off of the vehicle, removing the 10.3 box. It would also simplify it. We wouldn't need to shift overdrive anymore. That is something that may... Look at that skid. That is something that may well indeed happen in the future, because I think that is a logical evolution of this. Do you see what the 10 Pro is doing to me? It's making me think, what could I do to improve it? I haven't driven it yet. This gearbox starts here and ends here. It's over half of the length of the entire vehicle. Look at the drive shafts. It is nice that the drive shafts are symmetrical. They're the exact same length, front and rear. But we're looking at like 100mm drive shafts front and rear because the gearbox is so long. The side skirts are obscene. They're made of 2 pieces. They're too big. They point the wrong way, as far as I'm concerned. Like, at no point should we get that close. Yeah, I don't know. They have a step in them, so the battery never sits down really straight. To get the receiver box on it and get it mounted flat, there's a 4mm aluminum spacer under this end to make it flat, because you can't see it from the bottom. They're flat on the bottom. Right about here, the skirt goes whoop and just has a step down, and I don't know why. Not for any sort of conceivable reason. The spur is too close to this. There are these just tiny little itchy complaints that I don't want to have. I don't want to have them. So what we're going to do now is we're going to realign our chakras, and we're going to cleanse our auras, because we're going to go outside, and the rocks will do the telling. Right? I had assembly feelings that evoked the spirit of another vehicle that shall not be named, because there are just moments where, like when I look at the spur mount and what would need be done to change that spur. Now, opinion change, not a problem. We've got a straight shot right in the front. Boom. Hit that with a ball end driver, pivot it over. You can reach the pinion right through there. It's like every time someone thought something out, like smartly, that front axle, the front and rear bumper mounts are the same. The body mounts are all identical. Every time we got something like that, they pulled it back. They pulled it back from us. And they were like, oh, well, you know, this is all asymmetrical. You have to put 22 screws on in a single step. And this is a 10, but that's a 16. And this one's actually a 12. And don't get them mixed up. Don't get them mixed up. There's a 16 and an 18 next to each other. Don't put the 18 in the 16 hole. Vehicles like the VRD or building a TRX4, it's like 10s, brrr, all the way down, or 12s, brrr, all the way down. Axial continues to stick to there are, and I kid you not, probably 13 or 14 different fastener lengths to put this thing together. And I know, to some people, that sounds like scratching at the most minor of things. But it's not. It's really not. There's no reason that an entire vehicle like this can't be assembled with 4 different screw lengths. Because you're going to need longer ones for the shocks and to hold the links on. They could all be the same length. They could all be M3x22s or M3x25s. So this is an engineering thing. Engineered from the ground up, there are elements that are frustrating. So what it has to do now is it has to overcome that. It has to overcome not preconceived notions. This is not a notion that I preconceived. This is an evaluation prior to the driving. Because the evaluation of building a vehicle and servicing a vehicle are very different than the experience of driving a vehicle. Ask any mechanic. You can have a car that just carves up every corner as an absolute joy to drive and is a screaming apocalyptic nightmare to work on. And none of these have to be. Engineers and operators seldom intersect. You can tell when a vehicle is built by an engineer who is also an operator, because they know, oh, I might have to change that part. Let's not make it inaccessible. So that's out of the way, okay? So you know where I stand. This thing has been given the exact same opportunities as the VRD, that was recently done here. There was a little series on it built during a live stream. We did a ghost ride. We ran it through its regular test. We did some work to it. You can go and watch how the VRD does. And in the future of this, potential spoilers, we're going to do this head-to-head. 10 Pro versus a stance. 10 Pro versus a VRD. 10 Pro versus a ZRD. I want to see where this lands. Because overall, I think that there is definitely, I will go so far as to say inarguably, more good than there is bad. There's a lot of Axial in it, but there's not an excess of Axial in it. As far as a kit goes, it's not bad. But in a future installment, when we see this and a VRD parked head-to-head, just objectively, there's a pro-cons list already halfway down the page. So, this thing, like it or not, has something to prove. It has to go to the rocks and prove to us that it's worth the exact same amount of money as a VRD. So, good luck and Godspeed. And the rocks, as always, will be the judge. So while judgment begins on the bench, and it's impossible for it not to, I'm starting to arrive at a position where I think an entirely objective analysis of something is impossible. If you have any prior knowledge of any similar thing, it is in our nature to compare A versus B, the pros and cons, the pluses and minuses. So that began during the construction phase and continued to now, and the more I look at it and the more I drive it, and I've driven it for almost 2 minutes now, there are preconceived notions. It's way too fast. I had neglected to program cruise control, and we use cruise control here in part of the testing. Yeah, absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Okay, I should point out, we're on 0 right now. We will multi-pass here. Steer angle looks good. Descending stability looks, let's call it what it is, fantastic. Yeah, turn-in is pretty good. That turn-in performance, pretty good for somebody running 0-0. Let's get wide right. I want a little wider right. Get around that right there. Yeah. Return visitors will know I have said the best compliment I can give a product, whether it's a tire or a vehicle, whatever it is if it does the thing that I want it to do. If it will operate in the line that I want it to operate in, there you go. I can't ask for more than that. Okay, let's do a cut here. It feels very very planted. There's a real feel of stability here, and I think that's in no small part due to the wheel tire insert combo. Oh, that's real good through there. That's proper good. Yeah, I'm not even noticing that it's 0. We would have a little more turn in if I know that it's 0, so I know that it's 0. If you know what I mean. I think the front end would tuck in a little better. Yeah, the stock springing feels really close. Really close. And the only weight that is going to be added to this in the future is paint on the body. And then, should I opt to go through with seeing what it's like without the overcomplicate. How many gears are in the gearbox again? 7? We can reduce that by, we can take 4 of those gears and the servo out. Oh, I really want to see this thing as like a flyweight. We'll get to that when we get to that. Let's look at the descent, nose down stuff. Good old Fusion. Fusion doing a lot of work here, because 38-to-1 is not a big reduction. All right, we'll do the we'll do the low speed pass here. The pin's just taking flowers with them. Yeah, that's really good. Skid's a little big. Nice side stability there. It's getting more Rainbird. Okay. Big. Big. 40% is definitely big. Ooh, yeah. I like that. Now look at the turn in. Watch the turn in. Yes, sir. Look at this cutback. Yeah, buddy. Does it have enough to pull it over? We knew in the past we had an advantage. There was a built-in advantage here for 10 Pro on this day because we know we have prior experience with the pin on big overdrive splits. VRD is 38%, and the pins love it. They love it. And, you know, it's a pin. So a pin is a proper cheat. It is cheating. Yeah. Yeah. Much like a VRD outfitted with the full Injora complement, Injora wheel, Injora insert, Injora tire is great. This is no exception to that. Yeah. Yeah. It absolutely sings on the 40%. The 0 is fine. Now, I will say, once you get up above about 25%, some tires don't like it. They don't like it. You're dragging anchor. You're trying to pull your rear end up over stuff. The pins, they don't have that. So, I mean, that puts us at a crossroads, does it not? Most competitive things will not allow you to run pins. It has to be a quote-unquote scale tire. So then you have to run down the rabbit hole of testing out tires until you find the one that fits right. The case is the same for the VRD. Anything that's running big overdrive, and I say about 25% and up, Canyon Trails do not like it. Tires like Deepwoods, Louis Champs do not like it. There's a lot of tires that don't like that big split. Not all the time. A Phoenix can shift in and out of the big split, so you need a tire that's more versatile across the board. Oh yeah. 40% is like a drug. It's 4/10 dig, right? You're 4/10 digging. So we've got where he sits now, and we've got the little, what I call the little second pull-up, this guy right here. So with that 40%, we can turn well inside of that. And because the rear is gonna hold us stable, let's get up over that, see if we shuttle. Oh yeah. I don't know. It's tough to say because comparisons made in distance, and here we're measuring the distance in time. Comparisons made at this distance, it's tough to say. But I say, sitting here, the 40% feels a little more advantageous on the Pro than the 38 does on the VRD. Hot take, potentially unpopular opinion. Also, yes, very stable. And while I do not think that the CGH on this, we're just staying in 40 for this right here. We'll try both ways. Oh, come on. Don't push me right. Don't push me right. Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah, that's real nice. I think the CG is low. The VRD puts its motor a lot lower. Like quite a lot lower. But the chunkiness of the gearbox might be having a little bit of an effect here. There's no added weight to this. The 10 Pro doesn't even come with a knuckle weight like the VRD does. Yeah, honestly, being a dig guy, I understand why the kit included a lockout to lock out the adjustable dig. I would not drive this on the 0%. There's no need for it. But we are then left there at a crossroads again, because we don't know what it's like on a different percentage. We don't know what it's like with a little bit more front weight. It is doing work on 55-45 split, because I think the sprung to unsprung brought about by those silicones, that's 70 grams per wheel. 280 grams of inserts is really pulling this thing down. I have not met a moment yet, and I'm anticipating we'll hit it at some point, but I have not met a moment yet where I have felt the straight axle. Someone in a comment had said they like the stability of this. It was either the stability or the forward drive. They're not explicitly breakover, but think of the situation where the front tire is pulling you over a ledge. Like, we're not worried about mechanical stuff, but like right here, getting that front tire to position and pull over, they prefer that to the VRD. I can't make that judgment right now because I haven't driven a VRD in a hot minute. It's been a few weeks since I turned the wheel on a VRD, so I can't remember. This does feel remarkably capable at handling broken ground for a straight axle. I still hate the body. I'm not coming around on the body. Yeah, I don't like it. But what it is doing is it's making me forget. I'm forgetting about the gearbox build. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This little crossover spot here is a spot that doesn't lend to big splits, because we get to right here and you can get basically you're splitting your rear axle. So we're hoping for inner side bite on both tires, so any differences in track width are going to make a difference. We're also on pins here, which don't really expressly have a bunch of side lug. We can slide that axle over. We want to cut back. We want it to notch its way back like that. Tires will take us there. Okay, now let's try exact same thing. Flip of the switch. We can't get the turn in. Okay, 40% to here. Then down to the 0. Still splitting it. I feel like it wants to pull right there. Yeah. What am I doing? I'm building a little bit of a database here. The 40 feels real good, but I think that it is almost too specialized of a weapon. I kind of still feel the same way about the VRD. But the VRD being a Vanquish, it is very expensive to to sample with some different underdrive overdrive ratios. Yeah, it's nice. That's nice. And you know what the best part about that ascent right there? I forgot what underdrive I was in. That was on 0. How does it feel on 40? Pretty much exactly the same. Yeah, that's the thing. I still maintain it about the VRD, and I will state it about the 10 Pro. An overdrive split like that, underdrive, this being pure underdrive, 40% is, to use a very trite and overused phrase, a lot. And there are situations where it is advantageous, and there are situations where it is a disadvantage. And our choices here are 0 and 40. Would we just be better off if it was just 20? If it was just 20 with no change? split that difference? I don't know. I don't know. I want to remove, do I want to remove the weight? I don't even know that anymore. As far as I'm concerned, this is best case scenario stuff. If the 10 Pro is raising in me future performance questions, I have very little in the way of current performance questions. So midway through that, this feels like he's gonna murder this exit. Oh yeah. That's a 9.8 on that cross. That was proper good. Did I get halfway through the thought on the CG? I don't think, I don't know. It's got to go in the scales. It's got to go in the full scaling, honestly. I was going to say that I don't feel like the CG is quite as low as the VRD because of the motor placement, but I'm second guessing that even. This is on 0, by the way. It's really planted down. It really is. Stability is 100% there. The real question as we progress through one of these is, how does the Injora comp pin have any right to be so good? So this whole time, we could have used the 40 right there. Oh, that was nice. Oh yeah. I'm not mad at the Geo. I'm not mad at it at all. This is on 0. I'm gonna do it again on 40. Yeah, that pivot right there. There's so much drive. This rig on this tire. Can we stay on that? Yeah, why not? So anyone arguing that there's a greater stability to the Pro than the VRD, I don't know if it's greater outright, but I know that we're definitely in two families of apples. This might be apples and apple pears. Yeah, this is really quite good. Thank you for the low speed. I wish that there was more gear reduction. I still do. Because this feels like something that I would run a Pro in, that I would run a Fusion Pro. And the speed, it would be twice as fast as it is now. We're talking like over 10 miles an hour, wide open. Pinion it all the way down to try to get into single digits. FOC is the only thing making this usable that I can do this. For every great thing. So the Geo is sorted out. It's every bit as good as what is in a VRD. It just is. But then you've got the core components. This is no. This is stuff that should be saved for the Versus. We will definitely address stuff like that later. If it's going to prove that it can do the things, it's got to do the things. Okay. Try it at 0. Get the upper hooked over right there. It's exactly where we want to be. First time getting our slider in. I mean, I don't think we can fault it too much for staying too high on the high side, because that was, and we get stuck on the way. There we go. That was relatively low effort. Now let's find out what would happen if we were locked at 40. A little anchor dragger. Yeah. Not as good here at 40. And if we come back with no scratches on the body, were we even here? Very good. Try to keep that slider over a little farther. I want to get real. I want to get nope. I don't think this will make it at 40. So 0, we've got more drive because we're not trying to pull our rear end, like right there. That is just better. And we get to right here, and this is what was flopping us over. Kind of cut through it. Yeah. The 0 is better, but I've got to really fine edge it. Honestly, okay, this is half speculation and half extrapolation. I feel like if it was just on 20, it would be better than it is at 0. And if it was just on 20, it would be more versatile than it is on 40. 48 makes it turn tight. And early on, yeah, if I don't have to try to wedge myself between 2 golf balls, I'm like, yeah, 40 is where it's at. The turn in right here is, I don't know, one might go as high as 40% sharper when it's on the big underdrive. But yeah, oh, I need the big underdrive right here. It is definitely better than anticipated, certainly. And I mean, honestly, a lot of it's on me. I will take some hits on one performance aspect or another in the quest for greater versatility. Yeah, that's the slider right there. Get it, get it, get it. Don't slip, don't slip, don't slip. Figured take it to the gates I have problems with. Oh. Okay, this is 0. Get it, get it, get it, get it, get it. Right there. No, get it, get it, get it, get it, get it. Right there, over there, over there, over, 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 over. Oh. All right. Well, that's a double hitter. Got a double hitter. See how it looks on 40. Come across there. Here's the deal here. This feels exactly the same. I'll get this catch. Oh, okay, maybe it doesn't. 40 winning through there. All right, I'm gonna stay 40 here. Want to keep it flat across that. Yeah, there is a stability. There is really a stability. This is planted down nicely. Now, sprung versus unsprung. Not all weight is bad. We have more rotating mass than a lot of people would choose on their own. I'm not as big of an enemy of rotating mass as a lot of people seem to be. We're not building a Grand Prix car. We're not going to compete in Le Mans. We don't have to worry about every gram of rotating weight because, let's be honest, we're moving at about half a mile an hour right here. Our wheel RPM right now is very low. That's good. That's really, really good through there. I should have named it pendulum because it's constantly swinging back and forth. Amazing. That side hill cross over broken ground on straight axles is phenomenal. And then it will squirt its rear end out under 0 and 40 and feel almost the same on some obstacle at 0 as it does on 40. I don't even know what that was. One of the great banes of my existence is front 9, gate 8, right here. This guy feels like it drive. I talk about how vehicles drive light or drive heavy. You're not getting through there, dude. This guy drives low, both physically and figuratively. It feels very low. Like it feels like your weight is very concentrated down. And then there are moments where we get hang up. Oh yeah. We might hit that outside. We might be able to really slow roll it here. Nope, just kind of took it with us. On a first try though, man, that's good. The 10 Pro has certainly exceeded my expectation, and I'm surprised. I really am. I think that it's imperfect. It is there's a compromise in there that isn't one that I would have made. Like, it wasn't a compromise to increase versatility. It's better, worse. I'm really having a difficult time quantifying. 1 second, it's really good. And then the next second, I'm thinking, how would I fix that? The geo and the springing seem pretty much spot on. The weighting was really good. The stability is very high. You've got that additional turn in from the 40, but in many instances, I have to glance down at the radio to see whether I'm in 0 or 40. Ordinarily, you can really tell. Yeah, 40 will turn it in so tight. It turned it in so tight, I'm probably not lined up right. Now let's see if the 40 slows that rear end down. Oh, 4/10 dig. Very chopped right there. I need to get that over. That's really, really, really strong. It just makes me, more than anything, I need to see this desperately. I need to see this and a VRD side by side. I have to. It is an imperative. But in terms of, okay, so what do we have to do? To make this semi-legitimate, to turn this pseudo-scientific, or to even get a glimpse of the non-pseudo-scientific, we have to make an evaluation of it based upon its merits. We have to ignore the build process because it was axial enough. It is not nearly as rewarding of a build process as building the VRD. Again, let's not talk about the VRD again today. The performance of this on a very economical everything. So we're looking at $429 for a kit. Wheel tire insert is at about $80, so we're at like $509. That's at $1,200, so that's $70. A $20 servo for the 2-speed, so we're at like exactly $600. And then the radio, this happens to be an RC6, but it obviously does not need to be an RC6. It could be an RC4, which would be around $60. So we're at about $660. For something that is, what am I forgetting? Steering, servo. It doesn't need to be an RS400. The RS400 happened to be in the bin because that's a $100 servo. So we would actually be, well, we'd be around $750. $750 is probably in the body. We're at about $800. It builds up like a VRD. You're going to spend about the exact same money VRD. Didn't I say don't talk about the VRD anymore? It's going to come out the same cost. If you're building a VRD or if you're building one of these, it's going to come out the same cost. So it's going to go straight into that. I can't tell you right here, right now, if you have that money gripped tight in your fist, in this moment, I cannot say run out and buy a 10 Pro. I also cannot say run out and buy a VRD because I need to see him in this exact configuration and a VRD in its exact box stock configuration with identical tires and inserts. I need to see them side by side. That's what has to happen. And this quick view / build series / saga of the 10 Pro, the Rainbird, he is the Rainbird. He's gotten even more chirpy as the day has gone on. That is how this will end. Because one, and I can't guarantee you in this moment that it will be conclusive. One might be better at one thing and the other might be better at another. They might be very, very close to one another. Any other comparisons will be taken care of in that episode. Overall, do I consider, like, try to get my brain to think that the VRD doesn't exist. How do I feel about this as a kit? The only other Axial kit option we have is the base camp. The base camp is a violently different experience, both in terms of building it and in terms of driving it. They are incomparable. Also, you can buy a base camp kit for $200, and this is $429. I don't know. Let's end on the most honest of honesties. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. The performance is better than I anticipated. Is it better than a directly competitive product? I don't know. Is it worth the money that is spent on it? I don't know. Does it have really nice shocks and axles, and the chassis rails, despite being aluminum? It's fine. My biggest issue here is the gearbox, and we're going to see how that shakes down later. But for this, I mean, if you made it this far, and then you arrive at what is essentially no conclusion, you can harumph. That's fine. Because I, here on Bucket Chair, am sitting in the exact same position you are, just in a different locale. I don't know. I'm not mad at it, but I'm also not blown away. You know? I don't know. Had I never met a VRD before today, never wheeled a stance, which is, 1% milk fat VRD, had I never driven either of those, would I feel differently? Yeah, I think so. But this comparison is inevitable, and we'll get it. We'll get it hopefully sooner than later. I hope you tune in for that one. I thank you so much for bearing with me through this one. I'm working through some stuff here, me and the 10 Pro. We're trying to develop a relationship, and we're seeing how that relationship is going to shake out. So far, I think I'm happy with saying I ain't mad at it. I'm also not blown away, and I don't like things that are in the middle, so it's going to have to do something. I've got my shoulders all scrunched up. Thank you once again, and for the last time, so everybody, for joining us here. So, thank you so very much. Tune in for whatever comes next in between now and then. Please, one and all, do your very best to have a good one, everybody. We'll see you next time here from the Canyon with whatever shenanigans those bring. Hopefully, no promises, but hopefully something more conclusive. I like it. Is it that I like it but I don't love it? I don't know. Out of the box, is it good? Yeah, it's pretty good. Could it be better? Yeah, probably. Should you buy this over a VRD? Oh, don't ask me that right now.